It's impossible to ignore, right? The AI boom is literally everywhere, and it's changing our world at a speed that's kind of mind-blowing. Now, you'd think this is a game just for the giant corporations, but here's the twist. A key piece of this new gold rush might be sitting in your computer right now. So how can you, an actual person, get a piece of the action? Well, let's dig in.
So, what's all the fuss about? Well, it really boils down to this number right here. A recent study found that for every single dollar a company invests in generative AI, they're getting back, on average, $3.70. I mean, think about that. That's not just a good return. That's the kind of game-changing math that fuels a gold rush. Okay, so that brings us to the big question, right? For you, with all this cash getting thrown around, how do you get in on this? Without having to be some AI genius or a venture capitalist. Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. All right, to really see the opportunity here, you've got to grasp just how massive this wave of investment is. And I'm not just talking about a trend. This is a total, fundamental shift in the economy. And man, is it happening fast. And it's the speed of it all that's just wow. Get this. As of this year, 2024, 75%, 3/4 of all companies have jumped on the generative AI bandwagon. Just let that number sink in for a second. 75%. And if you want some perspective on that, just a year ago, that number was only 55%. So we went from basically half of all companies to 3/4 in a single year. That's not an adoption curve. That's a rocket ship. It's an absolute explosion. And of course, what's fueling this explosion? Money. Tons of it. We're talking about $246 billion in corporate spending just this year. That's more than the entire economy of a country like New Zealand. And that massive global demand is what opens the door for people like us. So why are they spending so much so fast? Look, this isn't just hype. It's not about being trendy. They are chasing real, measurable results. And it pretty much boils down to three main things. 1, make employees more productive. 2, grow the top line, make more money. And 3, create new innovative products and services. That's it. Those are the bottom line goals that make spending billions totally worth it to them. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not enough to just spend the money. Turns out there's a huge difference between the companies that are crushing it with AI, the leaders, and those who are kind of falling behind, the laggards. The leaders, they're getting almost a 5 times return. The laggards, they're barely seeing a 3 times return. But wait, it gets even crazier. If you look at the absolute cream of the crop, the very best of the best, the numbers are just staggering. We're talking a return of more than 10 times what they put in. And that right there, that's why these companies will pay practically anything to get the tools they need to stay on top. So all this insane demand, all this money, it's created a problem, a huge bottleneck, because all this incredible progress depends on one single critical piece of hardware. And right now, there's just not enough of it to go around. And what is that resource? It's the GPU, the graphics processing unit. Yep, the very same kind of chip that makes your video games look so amazing. The folks over at NeuralNet Solutions put it best. The entire AI world is built on these things. It's simple, really. No GPUs, no AI. And this quote from Henry Navarra just nails it. In this new AI economy, GPUs aren't just some part you plug in. They're the new oil. They're the picks and shovels in this massive digital gold rush. Okay, so let's recap. We've got huge corporate demand on one side and a major hardware shortage on the other. And this is where the story takes a turn. It stops being about big tech's problem and starts being about your opportunity. Because the key to solving their problem, it could literally be sitting on your desk right now. The whole idea is called hardware as a service, or HaaS. And honestly, the best way to get your head around it is to think of it like Airbnb, but for your computer. Instead of renting out a spare bedroom, you're renting out the time your powerful graphics card is just sitting there doing nothing. You're renting it out to companies and developers who desperately need that power. And look, this isn't some crazy theory. This is happening right now. There's a whole ecosystem of online marketplaces that make it all possible. You've got platforms like Fast.ai, RunPod, SimplePod. They're basically the matchmakers, connecting people like you who have the hardware with the companies that are starved for it. All right, so how do you actually do it? What are the steps to turn that gaming PC into an income stream? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. From what the successful hosts are saying, it really boils down to three key things. Number one, get verified. This is all about trust, and it bumps you up in the search results. Number two, set your price smartly. You got to be competitive. And number three, and this one is super important, make sure your machine stays online. Uptime is everything. People need to know they can count on your rig.
So the big question, what can you actually make? Well, this number here, it comes from a real host setup. They were running a high-end RTX 5090 and a more normal RTX 4060. And once they got everything dialed in and verified, they were pulling in about $200 a month, in passive income. Look, it's not going to make you rich, but that's real money for hardware that would probably just be sitting idle anyway.
Now, of course, there are some mistakes you gotta avoid. A lot of new folks just skip the whole verification thing and then wonder why nobody's renting their machine. Big mistake. Others don't take reliability seriously. But if your computer keeps going offline, your reputation is toast. And you've got to remember, this is not like crypto mining. You can't just reboot whenever you feel like it. You've got real clients running important jobs who are counting on your machine to be stable.
And maybe the biggest takeaway here is that you can actually do this. You don't need some massive server farm in your basement. What we're seeing is that even one good gaming PC, as long as you set it up right and manage it well, can bring in consistent income. The barrier to getting started is way, way lower than you'd probably guess.
So it all comes down to this one question, doesn't it? We all know that GPU in your computer is awesome for playing games. But right now, in the middle of this incredible tech gold rush, you gotta ask yourself, can it also help pay your bills?